Welcome to BattleTech in the Morning with Captain Nips. I'm Captain Nips. And for those of you that have been paying attention, I missed yesterday, which was unavoidable. Life is what it is. Sometimes the stompy bots call you, and sometimes you are called away from the battlefields of the inner sphere to push paperwork. But today, to make up for yesterday's complete lack of video, I feel it is only fair that I make two videos today. So the first of today's videos is going to be to spotlight another mech at the suggestion of one of my friends from the Penny Arcade forums. Hi Tox, how's it going?
Welcome, Commander.
In today's episode of BattleTech in the Morning, I want to show you another Hunchback variant that could see some work on the battlefields of the Oregon Reach. And that is the Hunchback 4J. Now, the Hunchback 4J is a little bit different in terms of the Hunchback lineage. Most of the Hunchbacks, for the most part, are short to mid-range brawlers. They carry either a large weapon in the form of an autocannon with some backup lasers, or in the case of the 4Ps, a bajillion lasers. The 4J kind of splits off from that line of thinking a little bit. It's another swayback model, so similar to the SRM6 variant that I showed off a few videos ago. The 4J doesn't... It technically has everything in the hunch, but the hunch is smaller, so they call it a swayback. Whatever. That part's not important. The important part is that the 4J removes the autocannon 20 of the 4G and replaces it with two LRM-10s. Now, this variant of the Hunchback, because it has swapped out the short-range, high-power autocannon for a pair of LRMs, makes this kind of a split focus build. It's intended to be used in long-range support lances, but because of its backup armament, is still very good in short-range engagements. It is worth comparing the Hunchback 4J against the Trebuchet because they're same weight, very likely to see them both on the battlefield. And honestly, I think if you're looking for a fire support mech that leans into it a little bit more, you go with the Trebuchet. But if you want something that's a little more durable and something that has a little bit better, let's be honest, a lot bit better short-range brawling capacity, you would want to go with this 4J. Why is that? So the other thing that the 4J does, in addition to installing LRMs instead of the autocannon, it adds a few extra lasers to the build. You still have the left and right arm medium lasers, and you still have the head small, but it adds 3 more medium lasers in that right torso to make up some of the spare weight, spare space. That means at long range, you're throwing out a 20 missile salvo. At medium ranges, you can start to work the lasers in, and then at short ranges, you can just give up the LRMs entirely, and you're still bringing 5 medium lasers to bear, possibly with a small laser backup. That makes this variant super, super brawly. And it still has the good armor of all the Hunchbacks. It still has the decent but not great speed of all of the Hunchbacks. The only concern I have with this variant is that the heat sinks might be a little too few. It does add a few heat sinks, but if you're firing the whole kit, I can foresee some heat problems down the road, which we'll figure out. We'll find that out. So in today's Battlefield Scrum, I'm going to take 4 Hunchback 4Js against a split lance of Hunchback 4Gs and 4Ps. And then, once this is over, and we've gotten a good feel for how the 4J can perform, in the next video, at the suggestion of my friend Tox, I'm going to pit a very special competitor against a mixed lance of Hunchbacks, including 4Ps, 4Gs, and 4Js. The 4J, also worth noting, cost-wise, is pretty much identical to the autocannon variant. It's a couple 10,000 C-bill difference. So it's very easy in terms of cost to swap between the 4G and its short range punch and the 4J and its longer range reach. For today's match, probably one other thing I probably want to mention. So when I do these chassis spotlight videos, usually I try and set the pilots up in a way that is symmetrical. I'm going to change that just a little bit today. So I'm taking the 3 good gunnery pilots on both sides. That part doesn't change. But I want to try, because this is a fire support lance with LRM 80 in total, I'm going to take arc light because of 2 things. 1, sensor target. 2, master tactician, which might not be as useful. We'll find out. But this, with master tactician using arc light, breaks the symmetry of the you go I go of everything being on the medium mech infantry or initiative step. See if I can't use something that. And then I gave Paradise to the other team because why not? Map today, I think we will. I'm going to go to Big Lock because it provides some cover but not a crazy amount of cover. And there's a lot of heat dissipation, so that's going to work favorably for both sides. I'm going to take my indirect shots where I can early, and then I think it's going to turn into a scrum in the mid to late game. We'll go with Rainy Day. And let's get this party started.
Commencing deployment. Mech warriors, prepare for combat. Command interface initiated.
And here we are. So, as you can see, 5 medium lasers, a small, 2 LRMs, a decent amount of ammunition. If we're firing full salvos of 20 missiles, that gives us 12 total salvos of LRM fire, which is, in a protracted fight, would probably be short, but for most fights, I think is going to be perfectly acceptable. So let's get our stuff moving here. I'm going to. All right, so we've got the deep water over here on the right, and we've got some deep water over here on the left, although not quite as much. I think it's kind of up this way. I'm going to pick a side. I should pick a side. I actually think the left side is probably a little bit easier to defend, so I'm going to send my lance that way.
Ready for orders. Yes, Commander. Yep. On it.
Get everybody moving. Probably won't see sensor targets until about round 3 or 4, maybe even round 5.
Yes, Commander.
Depends on how hard the enemy lance is going to push forward. Ideally, I'm going to get a good chunk of my lance into these trees before we really get into any heated engagements.
Position confirmed. Moving out. Copy that.
As I stack up my hunchbacks all in a row. Dang it, Arclight, you're screwing up the line. Just looking at some shrubbery. Alright. Let's get the front of the line into position here.
Roger.
Cut across the mud.
Receiving you. Aye, aye. Aye, aye. Moving to
I'm
position.
going to have to take my next turn to finish turning these hunchbacks in place, but at the very least I am
What do you need?
near the front of this forest where I would like to be. And here we go. Arc light up first.
Yep.
And I'm just going to creep her a little further forward. She's still going to be in trees. But I'm kind of hoping to catch something else. Nope. Nothing. So, honestly, at this point in the game, I think you'd actually be better off reserving her into phase 3, and then using her after the lead hunchback, the lead element of the enemy lance moves, so that you get the sensor lock, you remove any movement modifiers, or a couple pips worth.
I'm here.
Because right now, although this guy, he must have just moved enough for 2 pips of movement. All right, well. This is why we bring LRMs. Let's let the rain begin. Catch you out in the open in the water.
Ready for orders. Aye, aye. Awaiting orders.
As we continue to rain down missiles on this poor, unsuspecting hunchback pilot. Get him into an unsteadied position. Interesting to me that the AI is very rigid about which mechs it moves first to last. If that were a human opponent, I would have expected that hunchback to move first right away.
Yeah?
And I don't want to really exploit the AI, but I'm going to exploit the AI because, for real, let's be honest. Although this time the mech did move to brace and or cover. Pretty sure it was a brace because there's no trees over there.
Waiting for orders.
And we'll just continue raining on it because
10-4.
that is a 4P and I want to kill that thing basically like yesterday, because I have no intention of letting all those lasers get on the target that is my hunchbacks.
Standing by.
Ooh, direct line of fire from Kraken. Although just.
Confirmed. Fire. More bandits incoming.
Another direct line of fire from Apex.
Roger that.
And then the last hunchback will move. Yeah, in a human-on-human situation, I would have expected this hunchback to move much earlier in initiative and then just, I don't know, get behind a rock or something. Or at the very least do that. Generate a bunch of movement pips, movement
What do you
modifier
need?
pips, so as to prevent what this keeps happening to him. And then what follows.
I'm receiving you.
As we continue to have all the clear lines of sight.
Roger.
Movement modifier brings us down to 60%, so some of these missiles are going to just kind of fly off into space, but that's fine. We're going to chip that down a little bit. As the rest of this team is basically leaving this hunchback to die.
Engaging with target.
With which I have no complaints. starting to chip in through that left torso. As Apex's turn is going to come up. Is anything from their lance going to get into position to fight me? And the answer is no.
Commander,
The enemy AI has decided
target confirmed.
to give up one of its hunchbacks right from the word go. As I catch it on a knockdown, killing one of its small lasers off by coring out that left side. It only has 36 armor left on the center torso, so 116 damage total left to give before it is cored out. Is it actually going to get into this fight? Alright. It's going to get a shot on arc light. Let's loose with a few lasers.
I hate these guys.
But, in doing so,
I'm here.
has given up quite a bit of its movement modifier. So at this point, and point of record, Arclight, your gunnery stinks. So I'm not going to start with, well, I have to start with you if I want. I'm going to reserve her because I actually want her to go last. I'm going to use Wildfire, Kraken, and Apex to chip through the movement modifier with their better gunnery skills. So now the question becomes, can we leverage the lasers? We can leverage them. 45s and 50s isn't great, and there is a lot of heat to be gained by this, but I think the combined fire of my lance at this point is going to just put too much work into this Hunchback, and it's going to eat it before I get through even all 4 of my mech's fire. And then, because the rest of this lance is being putsy, I'm just going to take an entire turn off and let my heat sink.
Standing by.
Catching a lot of spray, and that is a dead Hunchback. The AI continuing to play up to its potential as per usual in a relatively balanced match, i.e. it's not good. Meanwhile, half of its lance hasn't even come into my sensor bubble, or it did and then moved out. Lordy. Alright, so here's what we're going to do. Arclight, we're going to move you a little bit. We're going to move you this way. Just enough. Just enough to kind of resettle the line. And we're going to throw another sensor lock out there, and this guy is now our next target. Because Apex still has her turn. Speaking of turns, let's make one.
On my way.
And send to the rain. Getting the chip damage in now. Arc lights up.
Aye, aye.
I'm going to reserve her because now we're at a point where I was hoping the enemy AI was going to move this guy, but
I'm here.
that's fine. I'm just going to take my sensor lock now and get that line of sight. And if the AI decides to move, which it should, although that's not going to be a great move. Well, it covered itself.
Yes, Commander.
And now we begin
Move order received.
the massed fire on target number 2. This time a 4G with the autocannon 20. As the enemy lance continues to bumble about.
Receiving you.
Try and get a slightly better position here. Maybe get the lasers online. Yep. But, as you can see, that's too much heat. Now, here's where the 4J gets interesting. So, you can continue to throw the LRMs at a relative heat neutral position. You gain a little bit each turn, but not a whole lot. Let's say for a moment that we're down into medium to short range where we don't want the LRMs. Let's turn the mediums on and see where we're at. Even just the medium lasers, it's still going to run hot, but not uncontrollably so. The only time you're really going to looks like you're going to run into heat problems with the 4J is when you go full alpha. I think in this case, I'm going to continue to throw missiles. Maybe one laser, maybe two lasers. That second laser really kicks that heat scale up. It's incredible. I guess technically so does the first one. We'll throw one laser at it. This is kind of a chippy thing to do, but that's fine. The AI seems to do it pretty regularly itself. Apex, you're fine where you're at. So let's just throw some missiles. Continue to bring the rain on the unsuspecting targets.
Standing by.
And we're back to the top of the order already. So, what do we want to do? Kind of don't need the sensor trace now. Don't need the sensor lock because I've got line of sight. I've got legitimate line of sight now. So I would like Arclight to get her weapons to bear, but the medium lasers are still out of range.
Attacking from position.
So, missiles it is.
I'm receiving you.
Still just the missiles for Wildfire because of the... I think because of the rock that she's behind. Continue to chip away. Oh, it takes focus. Is it actually going to use it? Yes! Oh, Wildfire taking an autocannon round to the chest.
Get him banged up.
Through the
Pretty good.
cover. The AI finding the focus button and actually applying it tactically correctly for once. Let's see. Line of sight is an issue. Heat is an issue. I think we have reached the point here, at least, where it might behoove me to take advantage of some of the water
On it.
and cooling that it brings. Let's take a quick peek here. Can we... Can't quite get the full load off here, but I did start with some heat on my heat scale, so we'll back that down. Fire just 3 of the medium lasers while applying missiles to target. Oh, a lot of that was on the right side. Deep cut. Deep cut with the lasers onto the right side of that Hunchback. Meanwhile, scaring off the rest of the Lance pretty convincingly. Apex has her entire heat scale to work with, so I don't see any reason not to move right up.
Move order confirmed.
And apply lasers to face in addition to some explosions. In what is turning out to be a rather pedestrian match, because the AI has decided not to behave.
Aye, aye.
And even Arclight can get in on this at this point because we're at the top of the order and
Position confirmed.
Master Tactician gives her the first move. So we'll go ahead and do that. Yep, we know there's Hunchback back there. Not surprised. Heat's good. Target's good.
Confirmed.
Get a few crits. Ooh, ammo explosion. So, ooh, never mind. Would not matter because we stripped both sides of the Hunchback clean off. Good fire on Arclight's part. Gets the knockdown on the Hunchback. That Hunchback is now good as dead to the rest of my Lance's fire. This guy decided to take apparently the long way around,
Waiting for orders.
which is fine.
All right.
but is unfortunate for the enemy team because it has put this mech at great cost. So now here's a thing. There's really nothing left in this mech. Let's pretend for a moment we're in the campaign. We're looking for salvage. Mech is knocked down. I've got 3 Hunchbacks worth of fire to send at it. It was suggested to me a few videos ago in one of the scenarios, I don't remember specifically, that I should have gone for the legs instead of the center torso to kill the mech and get some salvage. This mech has nothing. This mech has a small laser left. There's not really a lot of salvage to be had, but I am curious to see, with 86 health left in the center torso, but 46 in one leg and 120 in the other, can we actually get the legs off this thing before we just core it out? So I'm going to shoot for the legs here. Oh, also I'm going to overheat because I'm blind and inattentive. And a bad mech commander, which probably shot too many guns at that one leg. Killed the mech anyway.
Keep an eye on my heat, Commander.
This is me doing a shrug emoji. Fortunately, you can't see it because that's kind of dumb. Alright. We're up 2 kills to none.
Standing by.
The 4Js are doing the work. Kraken is running hot, so I think I will just move him back to cover. Throw a brace on it and bleed some heat. I probably could have just stayed in the water, honestly, but no sense giving up my protected position.
Yes, Commander.
Apex, likewise. Let's just get you back to cover. Continue to bleed heat on the team.
Standing by.
I think I'll just move everybody back. Take one turn.
Understood.
Bleed some heat. These Hunchbacks are so far away at this point. It's going to take them... That one's going to have to move just to get back in my sensor bubble. This one's going to have to move several times before it can engage. So we're just gonna chill.
Standing by. Confirmed.
Probably take a couple of turns of just chilling out here because these Hunchbacks are not making... Well, that guy's starting to make a push. I can probably start lobbing things his way.
Receiving you.
We'll just clear Kraken and Apex's heat scales completely.
Commander. Keeping my heat low.
Yep, that's what we're doing. Oh! And the game gives me fury. I have focus up,
I'm here.
which seems like maybe not the fairest thing to be doing to the enemy Lance right now. So we'll throw sensor lock on this guy. He's covered. He braced. Guy on the outside moves first. Wildfire doesn't really have the heat scale to fire all the guns. We're in that medium range engagement spot where you kind of have to pick your weapons fire. So we'll run that right up to the red line. Start to get the chip damage in. Okay.
Ready for orders.
Kraken. Unfortunately doesn't have a line of sight. Doesn't have a direct line of sight. So I think I'm going to fix this. I'm going to get down in the river. Lake. Whatever. And his numbers are just suspect enough. Actually, I think what I'll do... Do this with some space. Put some space between me and that guy.
Heading out.
Because it is 4P, so it's the laser variant. And I have all my heat scale to work with. So there's probably no reason
No retreat.
to not obliterate this guy. Oh, and I have his right side. And I'm eliminating his cover from being braced. This is going to go real bad for this guy. Ooh, mostly in the leg, though. Torso held up. 22 armor left on the torso.
Aye, aye.
That looked real good. I want to try and replicate that with Apex, but without the
On the
focus. If I can pop the leg early, maybe I can go for a salvage kill here. Let's see. So, leg's got 58 structure. We've got plenty of heat to work with. Arm is at 116. Torso's at 82. It's probably unlikely that I blow the entire right side of this thing off with an alpha strike.
Taking the shot.
Let's just see how this goes. Got one to the leg, maybe two. Yeah, that leg's coming off. Oh, somehow not. 8 structure left. 62 health on the torso, and still, I basically didn't hit the arm at all. Amazingly. Alright. So here's the thing.
Aye, aye.
I've got arc light up. And if I want to try and take the leg off of this thing, I think your best bet actually is to skip out the lasers and use just the missiles. You want to apply just enough pressure here
On my way.
to cause a break but not blow out. Because ideally, like in a perfect world, I would catch this guy's leg and I would not blow out his right torso in the process. If you're going to fire... Basically what I'm looking for is to crit seek. I'm looking to crit seek to this leg, and if you do that, you want to be firing the missiles. That gives you them. This is going to give me 8 opportunities before 2 hit rolls to get a missile in on this leg, and it's going to take 2 missiles. It should take 2 missiles. I think this is my best option to try and break that leg. It would have been better if I could get into the right arc, but did not. Also, did not get a single missile on that leg. Killing me, Smalls. But
I'm receiving you.
we have some other
Standing by.
mechs to fire with that do have
Moving to position.
a beautiful line of sight that can hit from the right side. The problem here now is that that side torso is down to 60. It is still guarded, so
Affirmative.
some of this damage isn't going to go through, but a lot of this is probably going to hit. Hey, cool. Cool! We critted a laser.
Critical hit.
We critted 2 lasers. Guys, I'm trying to get salvage here. Knock it off. Okay.
Yes, Commander.
Now, we want to apply the full force and reckoning of these walking battle stations. So I'm
Move
going
order
to move
received.
wildfire up. I'm going to point in this guy's general direction. And I'm going to call shot this leg and try and shear it off. And I don't necessarily... Wildfire is one of... Well, there's 3 crack shots in this lance. I was going to say she's one of the best shots in my lance. But let's be honest with ourselves. The first 3 mech warriors are competing for best shot in lance. The other hunchback in this enemy lance is so far away and not doing anything of consequence. I'm actually going to do... I'm going to go for the shutdown. I'm going to go full alpha. I'm aiming for the leg. Let me back up a step. How much is it? 26% chance to hit the left leg. And the rest will probably just spray over. Let's see if we can get this. Oh. Wildfire, sweetie. She put basically all of her lasers into that leg. That was beautiful.
Got to shut down.
You couldn't... I don't know that you could have asked for a better shot than that. Alright, Kraken, I need you to seal the deal here. So... let's take a look at this guy. He has 5 structure left in that leg. The rest of the mech is relatively intact except for that valuable right torso. So I think you go... Wait, hold up. Back up. Back up. Back the train up. What just happens here? Let's... Okay. Kraken is Kraken was in this mech's right arc before it fell down. I have a sneaking suspicion that that is going to hurt my chances. I'm going to move to an unfortunate position. And 85 stay, it's fine. We're going to get up here. It's a little obstructed. It's not great. But I really want... Alright, there we go. 23% to hit the left leg. I'm going to remove the lasers. It has 5 structure left in that leg, 38 in the torso, which has all of the lasers intact, by the way. Or does it? I guess the pop-up tooltip isn't showing crits. I'm guessing these are in the torso. That's fine. We're going for the leg. I'm going with the missiles. I'm going to crit seek, and I really only need 1 missile to hit this leg. 85% and 23%. I think I still need to fire both LRMs just to make sure that this gets done. I just hope it doesn't blow up anything else in the process. Perfect.
Tango down.
We systematically remove both legs of the Hunchback. We keep its hunch largely intact and take a bunch of medium lasers home with us today.
I'm here.
Now, let's clean this up. Arclight, if you'd be so kind as to move over and find us that new target.
Picked up a blip.
Where? Seriously, where did you pick up a blip? Because I'm not seeing it. Let's see where this cowardly Hunchback comes from.
Standing by.
Get Wildfire powered back up after her shutdown.
Ready for orders.
I think I actually have to start moving forward, which is unfortunate. I would very much prefer it move to me, but I have such an overwhelming advantage at this point. My mechs are largely untouched. Wildfire has taken an autocannon round to the chest, and I think Apex took some
Standing by.
early... Was it Apex? No, it wasn't Apex. Was it Kraken? Must have been Kraken. No, it wasn't Kraken either. Who took those early laser shots? Oh, here we go. Arclight took those early laser shots from the first 4P that walked up. So I'm probably going to get out of this match with a 4-0 and with, unless something completely dumb happens, all of my mechs in near pristine shape. Here we go. Alright.
Standing by.
Arclight. Let's continue to move you forward. And for sake of keeping you clean, I'm going to put you behind a rock.
Copy that.
Got this beautiful little mound here. Just big enough to cover a Hunchback. Throw that sensor lock out there. It's going to use its focus and... Oh, it's moving forward. This is a good sign for the enemy that fails to use its focus. Yep. The final game cannot come too soon, if only for the fact that the AI will be better.
Waiting for orders.
Alright, so the last Hunchback wants to give up its right side to me for some inexplicable reason, so I'm just going to exploit that right from the start. Kraken's going to move, put this rock between him and the other guy, and let the rain commence.
Attacking from position.
Point of note, however, that I'm starting to run out of LRM ammo.
I'm here.
Gonna have to get in there and do some dirty hand-to-hand fisticuffs at some point. Coming up soon.
Copy that.
Move Wildfire to cover. And send the missiles.
Acknowledged. Yes, Commander.
Apex. Probably gonna be too exposed. Kraken or Apex are gonna be the ones that takes some fire from this guy if he ever gets close enough, I'm guessing. And I get focus again. Really, game, that's just unfair at this point. It's just really unfair. I'm going to reserve.
Reserving action.
Make that guy move first, because then Arclight is going to
Standing by.
remove his one movement modifier pip.
I'm receiving you.
And Kraken, I think I'm just going to open this guy like a sardine can. I was hoping I'd get the right side, but I can't quite get it without going indirect. So let's do this. Let's back up a little bit. Everything can fire, except the small laser, of course. So we'll back up to here.
Got it.
Turn all of the lasers back on. Focus up. Not necessarily for the 2-hit bonus, but mostly for the ignoring the bracing cover part. And let's pry open some panels, shall we? Kraken. Kraken. I'm disappointed. You didn't break a single armor panel open.
Yes, Commander.
Alright. Looking at my movement modifiers here, I can keep the water, or I can move up, get 2 movement modifier by going into the mud here. I'm actually going to do that. Because at this point, trying to prevent damage to my mechs, we want the movement modifier where we can. Also, she has all her heat scale to work with, so there's no reason not to commence with can opening, part 2. Although now this guy gets his brace back.
I'm receiving you.
Wildfire. Would love, 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 love to leverage all your guns on this guy. Can we do that in a way that works? We can go here. Nope, not quite. Take it around the bend. That's not bad.
10-4.
2 movement modifier pips plus mud for stability, damage prevention. And then I'll get in the water next turn. Just got the whole heat scale to work with.
Roger.
Make it rain! Oh, a lot of that's going to the right side.
Aye, aye.
Arclight can get in on this action now. Which actually, if I can catch a knockdown on this guy, that would be great, because then the rest of my team will just do the business on him. The grisly business of battle mech destruction. Let's move in a way that is useful, maximally useful. This gets us to the rocks, but it's going to cut my LRMs down, isn't it? Yeah, let's do this. I want to be able to see where my LRMs peter out. Peter out pretty early. Ooh, you know what? Let's give that a try.
Let's move.
Let's give this a try and see if it catches the edge of optimal range for the missiles. Nope! Totally does not. But that's fine. Get the work done with the lasers. If we catch some missile firing here. AC 20 crit.
Not past the armor.
No knockdown. And now it's going to move and stabilize a bit. Probably bracing to remove all of the stability damage. Now I'm in a weird position because I don't have a sensor lock on that guy.
Commander.
Can I at least get a line of sight with him? Apex, who is already running hot. I can get the line of sight. Yep, cleared all his stability damage. And at this point we back off the lasers. Use the ones in the arms because they have better 2-hit percentages.
I'm here.
Yes, you are, aren't you?
Affirmative.
Wildfire will get into the water and use her final salvo of LRMs at reasonably good 2-hit number.
My LRMs are out.
Yep. Duly noted.
Standing by.
Kraken will likewise probably just do the same here. He's got a couple shots left. Second to last salvo with the LRMs, making it rain. Destroys the AC-20, which neuters this 4G Hunchback. If it wasn't already game, it's game now as far as I'm concerned.
I'm here.
Because this guy isn't going to be able to put up any worthwhile attacks on my lance. So, let's just get to carving this guy to pieces. Wrap this up and then get ready for the next video as I attempt a special challenge presented by my friend Tox
Firing.
that I'll get to in that video. Ammo explosion.
Scored a critical hit.
Cannot. This guy is so far up a creek. This guy is so far up a creek. He's literally up this creek. Yeah, I know it's a lake. That's fine.
My armor's melting off.
Ah, you're fine.
Standing by.
Wildfire doesn't even need to move. Puts all the lasers onto that destroyed torso. Transfers to the center. 7 structure left
Receiving you.
in the center torso of this Hunchback.
On it.
This guy's all but dead. There isn't going to be anything left of this Hunchback when I'm done. Yep, 2 legs and a cockpit.
Tango's trash.
Trash is the operative word here, as there is nothing to salvage off of that guy. Except a small laser and a pair of legs. So, the Hunchback 4J performing in spectacular fashion against an AI that really, really did not play to its potential today in this video. I like the 4J. I think this is a very, very good variant of the Hunchback, and I very much hope that we get this variant in the campaign because it fits in. It's a little unconventional because being in the Hunchback line, you expect the big guns, and this instead brings long-range support fire. And while you give up the punch through of the 100 damage autocannon 20, or even other variants where there's an autocannon 10 variant of the Hunchback that I'll probably get around to showing off, or even just the 4P with all of those lasers. I mean, it's not a very well focused punch, but that's a lot of laser damage. The LRM 10 variant here with the 4J, eminently serviceable. Eminently serviceable. And because it has flexibility with its long range reach and still a decent loadout for mid to short range fights, I think you would not go wrong grabbing a handful of these in the course of your campaign game. I will, assuming they're there, because it's hard. The results are there. It's hard to argue. Again, the AI did not play well in this match, but even so, it's not often that you get a 4-0 match where you don't even lose a single armor panel, let alone location. 4J, Hunchback. Look for it in the Oregon Reach. Cross our fingers, hope it's in there. And if it comes up on the market, snag them. Just use them. They're a great chassis. There's almost literally no downside to this. I will point out there is one construction quirk about this that you will want to fix, assuming we can with the Mech Lab. Like the 4G with the autocannon in the right torso and the ammo in the left, the 4J does the same thing. It puts the LRMs in the right torso and the ammo in the left. So you may want to consider moving that ammo to the other torso, stack it in with the LRMs, dead side a little bit with the left side. It's about the only problem that I foresee with this mech. Alternately, you can put the ammo in the center torso, as with the SRM6 swayback variant. But really, not much downside to the 4J. Look for it at BattleMech dealers near you. But for this video, that'll be all for BattleTech in the morning. 19 rounds, 39 minutes, not quite 40 minutes, in a stunning blowout on the back of yet another Hunchback variant. I'll see you in the next video, ladies and gentlemen. I am Captain Nips, riding on the back of Hunchbacks. Take care, take it easy, have fun. I'll see you in the next.